Guys, today I have for you a banger. If you're looking for a setup which will F up Diablo 4 servers, then this one will be perfect for you. We have crazy amount of DPS, survivability, and of course speed. And you need speed with Rogue to disturb happiness of low level players, because most likely they will cry that you already launched yourself towards to the end of mission or dungeon. Absolutely nasty. Dungeons will be cleared really quickly. I cleared everything without breaking a sweat. You're gonna kill enemies in packs, and actually you will have tons of fun by using decoy, because one of the biggest issues with Rogue, at least for me, was not DPS, not survivability, but enemies that are at distance, and how to lure those enemies to you, or how to kill those enemies much quicker fashion. And decoy is the answer, and we implemented decoy in our setup, and now it's unstoppable. But if you still need help or you don't want to grind, DVING.net is set for you. Use my promo code to receive 15% discount on absolutely all services. It's an amazing deal. But now let's get to my setup. We have tons of protection from status affected enemies, damage reduction from close and distant enemies, and distant enemies are the most likely the biggest pain in the ass in the game right now, because you can be one-shotted from miles away from crossbows and shit like that. So definitely you need damage reduction against distant enemies as your priority. Then of course what I would recommend you to spread your status effects all over the place and increase your movement speed to avoid or dodge those bullets, just like your X. You need to dodge and be really quick on battlefield to adapt and be versatile. And I'm not using Pentland Greaves boots. I took those away, and now I have extra aspect to boost my survivability, and that's really important because in my Paragon board I went full on DPS, guys. I switched some things here and there, and I made my Paragon board pretty goddamn nasty. We have tons of DPS. Accelerator aspect on crossbow is must have. Crossbow in general is the best thing to use. Not bow, but crossbow. You should use crossbow for the stats, all stats. Dexterity, all stats is absolutely mandatory at later stages of the game, just to hit those breaking Paragon points, or Paragon board breaking points, excuse me for my French. All stats is mandatory. Dexterity, vulnerable damage, crit damage, and after that maybe damage to close enemies or status affected enemies, or imbued skill damage. As you see, really important on my rings that my basic attacks will receive, every third basic attack will receive 150% potency with poison, and that shit deals really shit ton of damage, and you're gonna stack it really quickly. I'm using Shadow Step. I will stagger enemies, I will daze those enemies, and I will knock the F down those enemies. Guys, you don't need to use any points in your shadow imbuement, but you can use couple points in shadow damage, because Barber Heart actually is counted as shadow damage. So by killing enemies with your Barber Heart, you're gonna get your resources back. So that's the reason why you don't need resource regeneration on your rings, and you can go for health, crit chance, crit damage, and vulnerable damage. Vulnerable damage is must have. Here you could go for momentum if you need more protection, but if you are using decoy in the correct way, you don't need that. You can use decoy, lure your enemies, and boom, baby! One hit, easy money. Just use your Shadow Step, get into the action, and destroy everybody. Wait for those couple seconds when your decoy is active, 3 or 3.5 seconds I think. Wait for that moment to gather as much enemies as you can, and then clear those booty cheeks. This is my new Paragon board. I have 6 Paragon boards. I have couple legendary notes. I have combat, of course, really nice cheap shot. amazing thing to use. 25% extra damage is really nice, and you will be all the time in action. Then I'm using infusion. Imbuement skill damage will get through the roof. You can reach 100 mil, not as much as my previous setups because we are using defensive aspects. My previous setup reached like 150 mil damage with crit barber shots, but there I was using pretty like glass cannon type of setup with tons of freeze damage, with fresh finesse, of course, passive skill. But here, what's absolutely insane that actually I managed to unlock 6th Paragon board points, and now I have 50% damage to healthy enemies. Yes, that's the reason why I have all stats, and that's the reason why I switched my Pantheon Greaves boots for normal boots, and on those boots I have dexterity and all stats, and in that way I can reach 630 intelligence, and that gave me 25% additional damage to healthy enemies, and that works really well, especially with Shadow Imbuement. With Poison Imbuement you're gonna deal a shit ton of damage against bosses. For example, you can stack your Barber Heart really quickly, and you basically it's like 2-3 second one shot, 2-3 second one shot. Then boom, use your decoy to the next one. Most of the time, simply don't waste your energy to kill everybody on battlefield. At later stages of the game, simply save your time. How I would recommend you to play this build? Well, simply go to the closest enemy, stack your Dark Shadow shards. That will increase your movement speed if you invested some points there. Of course, the main thing, I have only one Dark Shadow shard right now circling around me, but if you will stack it, you will have like 40% damage reduction instantly, and then use simply your Shadow Step, or you get the point there. Yeah, Shadow Step, to kill enemies or move you faster. And once you found the group of enemies, use concealment skill. It will basically make you like invisible ninja, and you're gonna gather enemies, and you are invisible, guys, at that moment, and enemies are gathering around your decoy, and boom, just jump to those enemies and kill those. Super easy, super quick. Bye.